Good morning and welcome to St. Mark's Live. I am masked for a particular reason today, which I will get to in a moment. But I'm very excited for this live stream today. My name is Pastor Adam Thomas, and at the moment I am fighting a chainsaw for audio, so my guess is that you can hear the chainsaw better than you can hear me. Our microphone is in a bit of a strange spot today because I'm trying to pick up the audio of two people, plus we're wearing masks. So hopefully you'll be able to understand us okay. We are going to try to enunciate, but if you can't hear me or my words at all, please do let me know in the chat so that I can do a little bit of live adjustment. This is a bit of a strange setup that we have today for a very specific purpose. Okay, so what is that purpose? Well, today we are debuting a piece of art that will soon hang in St. Mark's Church. All right, so it looks like the chainsaw's not too bad. They can hear me better than the chainsaw. Okay, we're good. Okay, and I'm very happy to welcome to St. Mark's Live our own parishioner, Alison Ives. Hi, Alison. How are you?
Good morning.
Yeah, look at the camera, not at me. Good morning to you. Now, just a word on the setup here. I am in my office. Allison is sitting outside of my office so that we can maintain social distancing. She is outside. I am inside. And her being outside is not just for safety's sake, but also so that we could capture the natural light for today, because the piece of art that she is going to show us is a new piece for Easter, and it's one of her beautiful glass, I'm not even sure what you would call these, Allison. What do you call this type of work?
Stained glass.
It is a stained glass piece?
Yep.
Yeah, if you could just talk just a little louder.
It's a stained glass piece.
Stained glass, and the way should we show it first and then you can talk about it?
Sure.
Okay, here you go. Wait a second. Let me just switch the view so people can see it all. Okay, here we go. Here is the piece. All right, there we go. That's fantastic. Okay. All right, so that's good. A little lower. There we go. Perfect. This is the new piece, and we're going to show it from a couple of different angles, but in a few minutes. But why don't you put it down now, and then we can and we'll just talk a little bit about it, and then we'll hold it up again. So let's talk to me a little bit about your process, how you choose the glass, how you put it together, and what goes into that.
The whole idea of trying to create something that personifies the resurrection was a pretty intimidating task. I have begun to think about visualizing God's presence in the world, and increasingly it becomes more abstract. It becomes more related to energy, because it's impossible for me to really get any more specific than that. The choice of the glass, it's rather unique. It's called dichroic glass. You can see that there are pieces of jewelry that are made out of this glass. It's rather expensive, and I had to buy it in small quantities, and the pieces themselves are very small. So that determined the size. Initially, I had thought it was going to be as big as the Advent star, but it's not. So it's about 13 by 15, and it weighs 1.5 pounds. The process was starting with the center circle or core of energy, as it were, and then I just started cutting the glass in ray-like formations, partially to describe the energy going out, but also to maximize the use of the glass, because it was so, that's all I had to work with. Basically what happens, and I don't use a pattern for this, I just start to cut and I pray, and I love doing work for the church because I feel it's a way of giving back of the talent that God gave me, and it's also in a very subtle way my form of witnessing my faith. I am friends with a lot of believers, so this is kind of like a clandestine way of communicating my faith. What happens, once all the pieces are cut and arranged around the center part, they all have to be wrapped individually with copper foil. So you can think of it as kind of a puzzle. Two pieces of glass are joined together, and the copper foil surrounds the outside of the piece, and then the solder joins them together. So if I hold that up, I think you can see that. Originally, the center piece was more amber, but I found that it was too dark. So I wanted something that was more light.
Do you want to do the iridescent thing?
Yes.
Here, let me switch out here.
Tell me when you get it.
All right. So, if you can angle it a little bit more to the sky. We're trying to show, what are we trying to show here, Alison?
The iridescent quality of the centerpiece. I designed this piece to be more reflective because of where it's going to hang in the church. There's not a lot of light that comes from behind. But that being said, one of the surprises that I received, because I was focusing on the iridized front part of the glass, is that it actually does have a second life. And when the light comes through it from behind, it's a totally different animal.
Do you want to show us the light?
Did you get it this way?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, that looks amazing. And then we see it. Yeah.
That's with the light coming through it.
The center becomes translucent and almost white, and then the rest of it still has the beautiful rainbow of colors around it. Whereas when you held it down, you said iridescent was the word, right?
Yep.
Where now, if you look at it here, the glass looks green and purple and pink. And now go back up one more time, and we can see again. I love that change there, because you have that. It's almost like the resurrection, and then the new life spreading out from the center there. Yeah, it is just stunning. Can you hold it up just a little higher so we can see all of the different gems you put in it?
Yeah, I like using jewels. They capture the light in a different way. It breaks things up a bit. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. Wow, that is quite something. When you're making, so tell us a little statistically, I can't say that word. How long does a piece like this take you to make from the beginning of concept to finished?
Actually, the concept took a long time. I spent a few months thinking about it. I wasn't really sure of where to begin. I knew that I did not want to have a literal translation, i.e. lilies. I wanted something that was beyond our scope of comprehension, which is what the resurrection really is. You know, when you think about the force that tore apart the curtain in the temple, it's that kind of energy that I came to recognize that I wanted to try to work with. In terms of time, I would spend about 3 hours a session it took me a long time to cut things out and arrange things. It kept on shifting because I didn't have a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
So as I worked back into it, I would have to grind down pieces to make them fit better, and I would take some pieces in and then take some out. So I had a very kind of relaxed approach to it, which I was fortunate to have, because if I had had to have this done by Easter, it would have looked rather different.
Mm-hmm.
So I am grateful in some ways that I had the luxury of time to just let the piece tell me what it wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how my artistic vision is. God gave us the gift of creativity, and I always try to open myself up for direction. It's the giving over, the letting go, to work with the Holy Spirit to come up with an image.
So there's a you feel a sense of collaboration with the Spirit there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, and that's where the prayer comes in.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
If we did get one question in our chat, and I'm going to ask it in a second, but if anyone else has any questions for Alison about the piece or about her art in general, please do put them in the chat so that I can ask her. If you wouldn't mind holding it up just to the camera one more time so that I can ask this question. There we go. To your camera. Yeah, there we go. So Susan Kay asked, she says that she likes that the piece is not a circle, like the whole thing isn't a circle, and that it's not perfect, even though Christ is. Will you ask Alison about the shape, the fact that it's more of an oval overall? Is there anything theological about that, or was that much more just about the pieces that you had?
Well, I wanted it to be a little bit more weighted at the bottom. I mean, I also thought about this piece ascending, so that, gravity still does rule, and as, maybe thinking of it as trails of energy coming from it, as well as coming out from the top and sides. So, I didn't want it to be a round, perfect thing, and I also like the irregularity of the edge. I think it gives it more energy and makes it more dynamic.
The way that I see it is when we talk about this resurrection, and then you also brought in the ascension too, ascending, right? As it moves up, what we're going to hear in church this Sunday is the story of the ascension, which is when Jesus basically commissions his disciples to go out and spread and be his witnesses from Jerusalem to the ends of the earth. And so to me, those ragged edges of the piece means that it's almost like it's still spreading, it's still growing out to what it will become.
That's a good observation. I like that. Yeah, it's not contained.
Yeah, and we get another comment that the ragged edges speaks also to sort of an expansion of the universe as well.
Good.
Yeah, very cool.
Good.
I'm getting asked here, do you have a studio and do you offer lessons?
I do have a part of a workshop that I use that has been provided to me by Angie Robinson, and I would be open to giving lessons, but I'm not sure in this day and age and dealing with COVID-19 how that can really happen. But I'm open to a dialogue about that. I'm not exactly sure how it would work.
So say again where you do your work?
Angie Robinson has very graciously allowed me to use a corner of her husband's workshop. And it is a place of great peace, and I think of it as a sanctuary in of itself. So it's a wonderfully comfortable place to create and to be peaceful. Thank you, Angie.
Indeed. You did bring one other thing to show us. Do you want to show that as well?
Sure. My process, I never know how something is going to look until it's finished. And every year, I think one of my favorite seasons is Advent. So every year I make a Christmas card, and I use the same verse from John: the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness does not overcome it. I think there's been a lot of darkness in our world, and I think we all need that reassurance, that light, that God, that love will triumph over the darkness. And so it's a personal reassurance for me, and again, another way to share my faith. And so last year's piece,
right in front of you. There, yeah, perfect, right there. And what are we seeing here? What is the process of the making of this?
It's called Star of Wonder. I took a photograph of a piece that I had already done. I went into my editing process on my computer. I changed it, and then I drew and worked back into it. I really like the combination of photo into graphic work. So
So you took a piece that you had already done and then recontextualized it as something new.
yes.
Wow, that's fantastic. My family is blessed to be recipients of Alison's Christmas cards, and I will say that I have one of them in my desk right here under the glass because I love it so much, and they're always so beautiful every year. Also, when my children were born, Alison made little stars of stained glass for them that hang in our kitchen. So just from my family to you, thank you very much for that.
You're very welcome.
So we did get a question about where this is going to hang. It will be, so basically we have been blessed to be the home of several of Alison's glass pieces. The one that hangs for most of the year is the Holy Spirit mobile. And that will go up in a couple of weeks over the course of the season after Pentecost. It is a beautiful mobile of glass and that looks like fire and the dove and all of that all together. It's really amazing. At Advent, we'll hang the Advent star, which hangs through Epiphany season. Then we don't hang anything during Lent, but we have a beautiful driftwood cross that Alison made that we put on the front of the altar. And now we have a piece for Easter. So this is the kind of the final piece that finishes the collection of Alison Ives artwork that we display over the course of the year as part of our liturgy. They're just fabulous, amazing pieces, and feel so blessed to be able to show them. We did have a couple of people come in late, so I'm wondering if we might be able to show the piece one more time in the same way we did, the way that we did before, where I do the camera here. All right, let's see here. All right, so here's the piece one more time. We can see the iridescence in the center and all of the different colors and textures of the glass. Excellent, beautiful. And then if you could hold it up again into the sunlight, we'll see how we get that gorgeous, just down a little bit so it's not on the trunk. There we go. We get the gorgeous, that center that's kind of clear or white, and then all of the different colors around it and going out to that ragged edge. And it'll be really wonderful to see how it hangs in the church, because we have so much other glass in the church that every time we put up something like this, we don't really know what it's going to look like, and it always looks amazing. So wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let me just pause for just a second to see if anybody else has any more questions for Alison. And let's see here. If you have any more questions for Allison, please do put them in the chat box. I did fail to mention that when we do hang the pieces in the church, they hang directly over the altar. And depending on the size of it, they'll hang lower or higher. But they always hang directly over the altar. There's a bit of like a fly system up there that we can, up on a pulley, that we can bring it down and hook the pieces in and then bring them back up. We will have this piece hanging in the church for our Sunday worship, our live stream this Sunday. You should be able to see it behind me and above my head when I'm standing where I stand for our morning prayer. And then the following week, if all goes according to plan, the Holy Spirit flame mobile will be back in place. And then we'll have to wait. Unfortunately, we have to wait all the way till next Easter for more of this piece, but it'll be worth the wait, of course. Susan asks if there's any significance to the specific coloration of pinks, yellows, and blues.
When I ordered this glass, I really had no idea what I was going to end up with. They're small packets like this of, these are actually scraps. So I had no idea. I really love the green and the orange and the blue and the violets. So I'm very grateful that I ended up with what I got, because that was a great unknown.
Now, how do you cut the glass? What does that look like?
I've got a tool that's about this long, that's got a cutter on it, and I run it down, and usually I can just, this glass is very easy to cut, so I can just break it, snap it with my hands.
Okay.
Sometimes I've got to use a couple pliers if the glass is thicker.
So you score it and then it just breaks?
You score it and then it breaks where you score it.
Okay. Huh. We get a question. How long have you been doing this glass art, and what kind of formal training do you have?
Okay, I've been doing this glass art since 1980. I have a bachelor's degree of art, a BFA from Carnegie Mellon, and I am fortunate enough to have had a master's degree, an MFA from Pratt Institute in Brooklyn. So I'm very grateful to my parents for making that possible.
Wonderful. Wow. I knew that you were that you had incredible talent with glass, and it was such a part of you, but I didn't know that about the education piece as well. Her parents, of course, being Ethel and Coleman Ives, who were members of St. Mark's in their last years of their lives, but before that were members of St. Anne's in Old Lyme for a long time. We were, and both Ethel and Coleman passed away about a little over a year ago, and their piano resides here at St. Mark's as well. So we have wonderful gifts from the Ives family here at St. Mark's in the arts and music realm. Let's see, any other things? Maggie says that her mother went to Pratt. That's fun. What a wonderful connection.
We'll have to explore that one, Maggie.
Wonderful. Well, let's see. I think we've said all that we can say. Besides just one more great thank you of appreciation to you, Allison, for your absolutely wonderful gift of art, and how much your spirituality is infused into your art. That, I think, is what makes it so special beyond just the technical proficiency that you display. So thank you very, very much for everything that you are doing here at St. Mark's, and for your witness to God's presence in your life and in the life of this world.
Thank you, Adam. And thanks, everybody, for joining in.
Wonderful.
See you in church sometime.
Indeed. All right. That's going to do it for our live stream today. Thank you so much for joining us. And we'll live stream next on Sunday morning, May 24th at 9 a.m. from the church. And hopefully, if all goes according to plan, you will be able to see this new piece hanging above my head in the church. Thank you again for being with us, and God bless you, and God bless your day.